Hello and welcome back to Dark Souls 3. This is part 10 of our Halberd run. Last time we went through Anne Orlando, beating out Aldrich, and getting the Sun Princess ring. One of my favorites in the game. You might want to mute because this is loud. Hate that. No idea why they went, yeah, let's just add a bunch of screams. It doesn't add anything of substance. And just hurt the eardrums. Hello. See, it's like this. I can understand why they'd add that. Because it pushes you down there. And that can really throw people off if it's their first time. And it can catch people who aren't paying attention. And so that can be a good thing. But the little guy's just sitting on the ground screaming. That doesn't really punish you for being inattentive. It just, watch out. It's just a loud noise for the sake of having a loud noise. It's kind of like when a TV show or movie has a jump scare, but there's not actually a monster. It's just like a jump scare at the beginning of the movie. But it's just like your friend Craig saying hi. But there's the loud music and everything. Like the piano keyboard smash music. It just feels very cheap. And it doesn't really have any functional purpose. Old sorcerer set. But it's like they could have just not had it and we would have lost absolutely nothing. If you have an alluring skull, you can lure them over here and then kill them for great magic barrier, great magic shield. I think great magic shield. Either way, it's a sorcery that I don't want because this is not the sorcery run. But yeah, the whole screaming enemies thing's not a big deal, but it's just annoying and it serves no purpose. Well, with the Halberd's this moveset, it's so much better. Especially for taking out multiple enemies. Like, I've noticed whenever there's 3 enemies, I find it way easier to take them out with this combo. It's very nice. But here, key, and for some reason camera does a 180 on some of those. Don't know why, but so way over here, back with this screaming item, you can open this And that brings you out here, and that gets you Bellowing Dragon Crest Ring, which greatly boosts sorceries. I think the basic one is like 12%, and then that one's 20%. I think. I don't know. I rolled the wrong way. But I don't really do sorcery runs outside of Elden Ring. Partially because I really like melee builds, and they feel a lot better than magic builds. Like, they feel a lot smoother and more natural to me. But Elden Ring changed that. Elden Ring made magic feel smooth. And there's a room with 3 jailers and then a door we can't open. And over here, there's one of those things screaming. You can open that door if you want to kill it and get rid of the screaming, but then anytime you come through in the future, you have to take them out again, so. And here. I realize that I haven't been pointing out how I know which ones are mimics, but there is a method. At least in Dark Souls 1 and 3. I don't know if 2 will have the same method, because I know Dark Souls 2 changed a lot, Estus Shard, but I know Dark Souls 2 changed a lot, but I haven't, like, I didn't get very far when I did play it, and when I did play it was forever ago. Yeah, downward slam, I noticed, sometimes stuns enemies, even if it doesn't hit them directly. And then the sideways slash can hit multiple enemies. And so very good. You can go down that ladder, or you can take any of these drops down. Going down the ladder gets you at that door, and any of the drops put you down on that lowered section, and there's a giant. I like to take this final drop because it puts you here, which lets you entirely avoid the giant, so that way they don't aggro onto you. I feel like I should have been hit by at least 1, probably 2 of those rats. But yeah, you can see there, that downward slam stunned one of the rats twice. And so even though it didn't do any damage, it stopped them from getting an attack off on me. Now here there's 2 chests. And the chain, as you can see, this one is like a C or a smiley face. And this one is more of like a question mark. And I take the smiley face to go, oh yay, loot. Though this one specifically drops to Basilisk, which yeah. So this is a long, narrow hallway, and these things, like these steps, have a tendency to like mess with the basilisks when they're trying to move. Because if they go down the middle, then they drop, and then they just stand here for a second. Or if they go down the stairs, then they have to, like, figure out how to go to the side. And so it slows them down, and it's very good for lowering the curse buildup. And then this one with the question mark. Question mark is, like, do I really want to open this? And the answer is no, because it's a mimic. And plop, dark cluttering. But yeah, again, that works for Dark Souls 1 and 3. You don't need it for Bloodborne or Elden Ring because they don't have mimics. I don't know if it works for Dark Souls 2 because I believe I remember the chests looking different. But again, I haven't played that game in so long that I don't remember what they look like. Or if they look different but still have the, like, the chain on the side. I just don't know. But once you get past those two giant rats, you'll want to head out to the left. Because heading out to the left gets you to this elevator. And that gets you a shortcut. Also, I didn't mention it because I forgot, but after after part 9, I decided to grind the Winged Knight Halberd and Immolation Tinder, the two halberds that you have to grind for in this game. And so I got those. And I also got some souls out of it, but I didn't want to use those souls to level up, so instead I got every single halberd except for Immolation Tinder to +3. The only reason I didn't get Immolation Tinder to +3 is because 1, it took a different resource instead of normal Titanite shards, and 2, I ran out of souls. Now here you get Lightning Blade, which is a miracle. It applies lightning on your weapon. That's an item, but we're not going to pick it up because you can't sell it, and I don't like it, and it just clutters up the inventory. I've already forgotten, do we 2 or 3 shot these guys? I think we 3 shot. Yep. Oh, that's not very good. But thankfully, halberds have good range. And so we can just keep a distance. Though, if you look in the top left, they destroy your health bar without even doing damage to you. Which is not very good. Yeah, simply by looking at you, they take your health bar down. And as you can see, we have a 1 HP. So if we take literally any damage, we die. Which is no good. Wanted to make sure that they weren't coming at us from behind. Okay. Wanted to bring that down just in case. But yeah, coming back here is generally a pretty good strategy. And 1 second. Okay. So now I got rid of them. And I don't have it this time because for the single weapon class runs, I kind of want to get away from it because it's a little too strong and it's a little too easy to rely on it, which I don't want to rely on very powerful strategies. I want to learn the weapon class that I'm going with. But what I do is I have the Sun Princess ring, either a shield or a light weapon that I infuse with a blessed gem in order to, because blessed gems or blessed weapons in this game give you health back. Not a shield, a light right hand weapon, usually a thrusting sword or dagger or straight sword. And then for the shield, I have either the Ethereal Oak Shield if I have the DLC, or the Ancient Dragon Great Shield if I don't. Because those also give you health back. And Profane Flame. And it gives you a ton of health back. By the end... But by the end, you get like 6 HP a second. Which, 6 HP every second... pretty good. And 2 Titanite skills. But again, I wanted to get away from that for these single weapon class runs. Yep. But I still have the Sun Princess ring on, but that's not nearly as much. Elvaset? Like, it's just a third of the healing, only 2 compared to 6. Which really adds up. But look what this one singular enemy did to our health bar. It's now lower than our stamina bar. And I was about to say, someday in like part 92 it'll come back. But yeah, that's what one single lone enemy did to our health bar. As you can imagine, that takes a lot of Estus. But having that setup of Ethereal Oak Shield, a Blessed Weapon, and Sun Princess Ring, that really, really helps you out. You don't need to use nearly as much Estus. Those little chunks of health that we're missing right now, after you take a sip of Estus, you don't have those. just overall, it's a really, really powerful strategy for going through areas, especially if you're new and you take more damage and are going through things more slowly. Because, like, the slower you go, the more time the auto healing has to kick in. And Undead Bone Shard. But, yeah, like I said, it's a very powerful strategy, and it is kind of the go-to thing I go for. It's something I do almost every run because of how powerful it is. Because of how much Estus it saves you. But for these single weapon class runs, I want to get away from it. I'm not saying I won't do it at all, just that I don't want to do it every single time. Because I want to get used to the weapon class, and if a weapon class makes you trade a lot of blows, or relies on you going fast, then like I want to take that into account and not just go, oh man, this is super easy. Meanwhile, it's really just that auto healing strategy keeping us up. So I don't want to have that. I might move over to it if I'm really struggling with a certain weapon class. But like I said, that's not something I'm going to use a lot. Kind of like with the, with summoning. Or I said new rule, I'm going to limit it to 3. That's what we're doing here. We're going to limit it so that way we can't overly rely on it. There's some stuff over there. And I forget what exactly is over there. Yeah, but you do get toxic here. I don't know if the toxic here, poison gem, just isn't as potent, or if it's because it's later in the game and therefore you have more health and curse by ring. Right. But I don't know if it's a thing of it's later in the game and so therefore you have more health and more resistance to it, or if it's just less potent than in Dark Souls 1, but the toxic here doesn't seem nearly as deadly. I'm leaning towards... Get out of here. I'm leaning towards it being later in the game, just because toxic mostly comes from Blighttown in Dark Souls 1. Dude. And it wasn't that big of a deal to me. It's like, if I got toxic, I wasn't too concerned. And I wasn't too concerned over the prospect of getting toxic either. It was just like, it's something that can happen, and if it does, that kind of sucks, but we'll survive. Alright. We're gonna want to bring them back here then. Now these hand-face baby enemies thankfully only appear here. And I don't know what it is about them, but they make me think of Dark Souls 2. I think because I remember there being an enemy in Dark Souls 2 that has a sit-down attack like that. And this thing is a sit-down attack like that. But yeah, they drop dung pie. And in this room, there's 3. There's 1 wandering around. Killing them drops you the Eleonora. And then there's these 2 protecting some purging stones. They only drop you normal stuff, like dung pie. And I've tried it. You cannot get just 1. Like, I've tried throwing knives, I've tried bows, I've tried walking up and getting in one's face, I've tried, like, walking, I've tried the slumbering dragon crest ring, like, I've tried everything. You do not get the attention of just 1. You get the attention of one of those sleeping ones, you get the attention of both. There's no getting out of that. And while these things are perfectly fine to fight in a one-on-one, trying to fight 2 sucks. And because they don't drop anything, it's just not worth fighting them. Like, the one lone wandering one, sure, because it drops Eleonora. But besides that, nah. Here, question mark. So is Mimic. And like I said, I'm doing another run on console for just like general dexterity in order to derust and play the DLC. And what I've noticed is in Dark Souls 1, you can, like, if you lock onto them, you can use movement to get around all their attacks. But you can't do that in Dark Souls 3, which is kind of sad. Or maybe I just suck. Could be either one. But they drop Court Sorcerer's Staff. Just lying on the ground there, you can get Court Sorcerer's Set. Which, the robe looks very, very nice. And I wear it a lot. Even though it has the defense of a wet paper towel. Those went away right as he died. I'd feel like they should have stayed, but... Alright. But killing him gets you Logan's scroll. And then here you get Wrath of the Gods. But Logan's scroll is the third of 4 sorcery scrolls. So... if you got Orbeck like I didn't, then you can cash that in.
Oh! Pardon me, I was absorbed in thought. Oh, look at me. Trapped like a rat. But you needn't worry. I've just been sitting here weighing my options. The moment has almost come. I just need a bit more time. My liberation requires a key. But the key is outside. A riddle for the ages.
So when I pointed out the like smiley face chain and question mark chain with the 2 chests, the one that was a normal chest with the basilisk, that dropped the old cell key, which makes your camera do a 180. And here you get Covetous Gold Serpent Ring, which would have made grinding for Wing Knight Halberd and Immolation Thinner a bit easier, but didn't need it. So...
You are a saint. Once again, you are my valiant savior. I, Siegfried of Katarina, express my deepest gratitude. Take this, a token of my thanks. Go on. It's all yours. No, please. Go on ahead. I've my own road to take, and a duty to fulfill. Very soon.
So, that is the last step in his quest. And I guess you could say there's one more, but it's very difficult to miss the last one. 2 invisible enemies right there. Don't want to get caught up in their shenanigans. And over here is the Jailer's Keyring. And here we can drop down. And there's lots of rats. You know, the Pokey Halberd would have been good here, actually. I had 2 shots, but getting the job done. But we can come back to that in a minute. For now, we can go up this elevator, open this door, which 180s the camera. Don't know why so many doors do that in Dark Souls 3. But that leads you to that, the bonfire we started this part at. And then Jailer's Keyring allows you to open this door, which gets you a rusted gold coin. And you may have noticed that I didn't sit at the bonfire when we got to the Profaned Capital. Even though that would mean not getting my weapon durability or Estus flask back. This is why. And here you get Prisoner Chief's Ashes, which we can cash in when we go back to Firelink. But yeah, this is why. Because it allows us to head through here without having to deal with any of the enemies. Now, if you need to set up the bonfire, do it, but if you think you can make it through without the bonfire, then do that, because that means less enemies that you have to go through again. But heading back out here, when you kill rats, more rats spawn. So don't be fooled. Yeah, I was about to say, I don't know why they're taking this long to spawn. Like, just like the invader AI. Just, if they keep chasing you, just jog away, and then when they get close to you, attack and turn around. It's like their AI just does not know how to deal with that. It's way more powerful than it should be. Right, but the rats don't spawn forever. But they all don't spawn at once. So you need to kill them to make them spawn, to kill them to make them spawn, to kill them to make them spawn. But eventually, they stop spawning. And that's when you can go after the giant. And unlike the ones in Cathedral of the Deep, you're not burdened by the slosh stuff that slows you down. Which means you can actually jog here. Which is nice. And do enough damage, eventually they die, and that gets you a Titanite chunk. And there's also 2 large Titanite shards and the profane flame pyromancy here. And you can also see Sigurd here. I believe you can talk to him here until you open the door on the other side. But coming over here, Mimic. But yeah, I noticed, like, that attack, you cannot walk that attack. Whether you try going left or right, it doesn't matter, they grab you. I haven't tried going backwards, at least not recently, so maybe you can go backwards. But I don't know. But I remember you can do that in Dark Souls 1. But here you can jump, you can get lightning bolts, and then this is where the top of the giant was earlier. And here there's a crystal lizard. They drop a titanite chunk. And there's also a soul here. Again, because we didn't sit down at any of the bonfires, all of these enemies are dead. and so we don't have to worry about them. Which is very, very nice. And then in this room with all the jailer enemies that brought our health down, with the jailer's keyring, we can find one more new NPC.
Oh, there you are. I thought you'd all but forgotten me. How sweet. Good to know that a skinny little heretic can still turn heads. Oh, you're not one of them, are you? Accept my apologies for mistaking you for one of those leeches. So, what business have you here? This is a land of monstrosities, and I am no exception. You're here to save me, but I'm guilty. A wretched child of the abyss. Is that something you can forgive? Oh, really? You are no ordinary man. Very well. Besides, I've grown tired of imprisonment. I am Carla, and I accept your proposal.
So she homeward bones back to Firelink Shrine, and I'm gonna do the same. I wanted to do Profane Flame, or Profane Capital, alongside with Irithyll Dungeon, but the timer's getting up there, so.
Ah.
But here we got
Gracious
Xanthus Ashes and Prisoner Chief's Ashes. So I don't know about consumable items like this. But I do know Prisoner Chief's Ashes allow you to get Carla's set. The pointed hat goes pretty well with Firekeeper set because Firekeeper set doesn't have a hat. And the Xanthus Ashes get you the Xanthus set. So, yeah. I don't know about the other stuff, though. But lots of delicious souls we can sell. Don't need that. Don't need that.
Ashen one.
We could upgrade our weapon, but I'm not going to just yet. But down here, to the left of Andre, is Carla.
Ah, there you are. As I said, I am Carla, and am grateful to you. Now, what shall we do? The only thing that might interest you is my sorcery. Although my dark arts are a detestable sort. That wouldn't interest you, would it? You're a wicked one, aren't you? Very well. Humans are of the dark, and you are no different. Some may avert their eyes, but the truth remains the truth. Be careful, though. Few humans are privy to this knowledge. Let it be a secret, kept between you and I.
I'm not gonna go through all the talk because not a sorcery run, but you can get Affinity and Dark Edge, and you can also give her both Pyromancy tomes and Divine tomes.
Do stay...
But only the evil ones.
That is what... for thee.
Alright, so we didn't look at it before, but profaned coal lets you get dark, lacerating, and hollow. Lacerating is just bleed, and hollow, I believe, scales with luck.
What? No, this is much too dark. I see the abyss in it. Yet, a smith I remain. I won't turn down a request. But forget not, your fight is for the flame and for your fellow kin, just like mine. A cursed fate this may be, but hope remains, does it not?
Fucking love
For thee,
Andre.
be careful.
Andre is the best.
Welcome. Very then take.
But no, we can get levels.
Farewell, Ashen One.
We are very close to another level. Well, I'm not gonna waste any time trying to get it because we're still like 13 minutes away from hitting the hour mark. Not a lot of time, but we could probably do Profaned Flame or Profaned Capital. Like I said, I generally want to avoid hitting the hour mark, but it's not like a cardinal sin or anything. I'm not gonna be devastated if we hit an hour. It is allowed. Now, there was an item up there that we ran past, but we will get to that later. Yeah, these enemies can drop rusted coins, which rusted coins temporarily increase your item discovery by like 50 points. Right. But over here, there are these 4 enemies. And they're surrounding this giant bowl that's on fire. And what you want to do is you want to take them out. Because when we were running across this bridge up here, this one, you may have noticed that bowl is shooting fireballs at us. But once you take those enemies out, it no longer does that. So we can safely pick up that item, and then we can drop down here, where we can pick up the Oni Slayer Great Bow. This game only has like 3 great bows. I know the DLC has one, and I don't really remember what the DLC one looks like, but that one is the best looking one in the base game, at least, in my opinion. It just looks a lot smoother than the Dragon Slayer Great Bow. And yeah, up there you can see one of those guys. And if you walk or have the Slumbering Dragon Crest ring on, you can get the attention of this guy without getting the attention of any of the enemies. I mean, you could also use, like, throwing knives or something, but I am weird and am very adverse to using consumable items for a reason I still have yet to figure out. Because they can be quite useful. And I could make some of my runs a lot easier if I just decided to be normal and use them. Like I'm assuming most other people do. But alas, nope, gotta be difficult. They also drop a dagger, and that dagger, the second line, each successful attack replenishes a slight amount of FP. So if you use a lot of FP, good weapon. Also, Mimic. But I remember I'm a big fan of dropping small stuff for people in co-op. And another Mimic. But I remember I was playing with someone and they mentioned wanting to do a magic build. I can't remember what kind of magic, but they wanted to do a magic build. And like 2 or 3 days before I had gotten the Handmaid's Dagger, and I went, hey, if you want, I can drop you a dagger. It's not very good, but it could help you. They said no, but would have been helpful. Like, I don't like dropping anything too useful. Like, I could drop, like, a massive souls to give them, like, 20, 30 levels instantly. But I don't like doing that. I like dropping small stuff. Like Sun Princess Ring. Or a dagger that replenishes a slight amount of FP. Just stuff like that. Stuff that gives them a little push forward. But anyways, up here is a gimmick boss, so we will get to that after this cutscene.
Yorm, old friend. I, Siegfried of the Knights of Katarina, have come to uphold my promise. Let the sun shine upon this Lord of Cinder.
So, in the back, there's an item that you can see. That item is actually a weapon. A weapon that Sigurd is currently wielding. It is Storm Ruler. And it brings Yorm to his knees. The only problem with that is it's a greatsword. And it's the Halberd run. And it's not the only problem with it. I have a few problems with Storm Ruler. But that's the main one that we're currently dealing with this run. So, yeah. So this the Halberd run can't use a greatsword because it's not a halberd. And I mentioned a few times before that starting this run, not applying to Dark Souls 1 because I did the Dark Souls runs before this in terms of recording, but starting now, I'm going to have a rule where we can only summon 3 times. This right here, I'm not counting because we didn't activate a summon sign. This was part of a quest, and yeah, so I'm not counting it.
It seems I am in your debt once again. My thanks. I could have not kept my promise without you. Now, for a final toast. To your valor, and my old friend Yorm. Long may the sun shine. Well, I'm going to have myself a little nap. The only thing to do, really, after a nice toast. You are a true friend. Best of luck with your duty.
Unkindled one. The fire fades and awaits its one last lord. Prince Lothric is in your hands. Please save his soul.
That happens once you beat 3 Lords of Cinder. So either Aldrich or Yorm. I go with Yorm last because Sun Princess Ring is good. And this puts us in front of Emma. I am not going to talk to Emma because I don't feel like it. We can do that next time. For now, we went through all of Irithyll Dungeon and Profane Capital. We met a new NPC in Carla. We got our 3rd Cinders of Lord. We finished off Sigurd's quest. And we're now properly ready to head into Lothric Castle. Really good progress today, more than I thought. So, yeah.